Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, we're really glad you joined us and we hope you like what you hear. So, our podcast is for people that want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. And along those lines, in today's episode, we're going to give you 5 reasons and 5 tips on how to overcome your fear of change and embrace change. So, change is inevitable. Whether you want things to change or not, they're always going to change. So, a little personal anecdote of a change in our life that happened that made our life infinitely better. Back when I was a teenager, I was living in Los Angeles and I was dating a girl who lived in Portland. And we'd been dating for about 3 years. And the night before our season ended and I was set to drive home, she called me and promptly broke up with me. She was smart. It was good. The relationship had run its course. She was a great person. Still think very fondly of her. Hope she's having a great life. But she made the call and shut things down. So I was upset. I did not see it coming, even though I should have. And for a couple of days, I wallowed in my self pity and cried in my beer, et cetera, and picked me up and said, "Hey, you can't sit here being such a whiner. Let's get out and live life a little bit." And that night, I met my now wife, who I've been with for over 30 years. So that was an example in my life where things changed, even though I didn't necessarily want them to change at the time. But that change worked out really, really well for me for a really, really long time. So, change is going to happen. We talk about it on this channel a lot. You don't necessarily have control over what happens in your life, but you have 100% control on how you respond to it and how you react to it. And so that's the focus of our episode today. So to start with, we're going to cover 5 reasons why it's important to embrace change. And then we're going to give you 5 tips on how to do that. Because even if you know it's important, knowing that you should do it and knowing how to do it can be 2 different things. So that's our story. And we might add, my wife actually climbed out of a car at an intersection to come talk to me. That's how I met her, which is hilarious to anyone that knows us now because we have a real Beauty and the Beast relationship going on. And newsflash, I am not the beauty in the relationship. So it's worked out really well for us. We've built a good life together. We're very happy, but it's because we embrace change. That's the main reason on why things worked out for us. So number 1 reason why it's important to embrace change. It's how you grow. Growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. You rarely grow when you're comfortable. You have to get outside of your comfort zone to be comfortable. That's one reason it's very important. You learn to walk. You learn to ride a bike. You learn to play a sport. You learn to speak English. You learn to drive a car. You learn to do whatever job you do now. All of those were changes that happened in your life. You just didn't think about them as changes. But we did an episode yesterday on why we think you should consider a career in the skilled trades. And maybe you are an accountant right now. Maybe you're a nurse practitioner right now. Maybe you're a realtor right now. Maybe you're a teacher right now. Maybe you're a lawyer right now. And maybe you hate it. Why should you keep hating it? Why not try something new or at least explore something new? That's a great example of where change could be really good in your life. But you'll never know unless you start pursuing that and embrace the opportunity. Even if you don't make the change, just changing your thought process about it can have a huge, huge impact on your life. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, adapting to change and changing builds resiliency and adaptability. So when you have challenges, which everyone has in their life, we've talked about it before, it's easy to look and say, oh, Elon Musk has a great life. Bill Gates has a great life. Jeff Bezos has a great life simply because they've got a lot of money. All those guys have been divorced at least once. Elon Musk has 12 kids with, I think it's 5 women. There's been allegations that Bill Gates behaved really inappropriately towards women at his company. I don't know if they're true or not. I know those allegations existed at one point. My point is they got challenges too. They needed to develop resilience and adaptability, even to build what they built. So small businesses are examples of anyone that runs a small business or is an entrepreneur, great example of people that have to embrace change and become resilient and adaptable. The pandemic was a great example. Everybody had to adapt to change very quickly in the pandemic if you wanted to survive. Restaurants had to spread tables out. You had to do outdoor seating if you had good enough weather to do those things. Grocery stores put up sneeze guards. They put placards down on the floor to keep people 6 feet apart. They put arrows to say you can only go one way down an aisle. All sorts of adaptability to circumstances nobody knew were going to happen. So that's a good example of how business, you have to adapt to change. We talked about a personal example from our life where adapting to change winding up being a really good thing for us. Reason 3, change unlocks new opportunities. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing, you're going to get exactly what you've always got. Do you want to make more money? You have to change. Do you want to change your fitness level? You have to change. If you want to start a new relationship, you have to change. And we're not talking about wholesale change or being someone that you're not or being fake or phony. We're saying that there's going to be different things that happen in your life, and you have to embrace those different things and find the good in those things and make them worth your while and make them worth pursuing for you personally. Maybe you try something you never tried before and you really love it. Maybe you've never gone golfing before and you love it when you go golfing. Maybe you go windsurfing and you love it. Maybe you fly a kite and you love it. Maybe you go bowling and you love it. Maybe you start in a book club and you love it. Doesn't matter what it is. It's a change, and it unlocks new opportunities. It allows you to meet new people, experience different things, move to a new city. Moving to a new city is a great one. I know several people in my personal life who have recently moved to new cities nowhere near where they were. And those moves have by and large been very good for them and worked out very well for them. But that takes guts. It takes guts to pack up all your shit and drag it thousands of miles away. And you've got to have some guts, and you've got to have some resiliency and adaptability to open yourself up to new experiences. So the one way to do that is just make a list of pros and cons. What are the pros of making the change you're considering? What are the cons or potential cons of making the change that you're considering? If the pros are much greater than the cons, I think that's a pretty straightforward sign that you should make that change, or at least attempt to make that change. So you got to look for new opportunities. That's what keeps the spice in your life, what keeps you happy, active, makes life worth living, provides meaning and purpose. And you're never too old for those things. You're never too old. It's never too late. You're not irredeemable. Those things can happen, but you have to make them happen, right? Okay, reason number 4, it helps you discover your true self. So how do you know exactly who you are if you haven't exposed yourself to a wide variety of things? Maybe you've done the same thing your whole life. Let's just take a school teacher, for example, just because it fits the narrative. Love school teachers. Nothing wrong with being a school teacher. Think it's a noble profession. Know lots of awesome school teachers. So I'm not denigrating being a school teacher in any way, shape, or form. But you're a student, go through high school, go to college, go directly back into the education system. You don't have any idea that you might be an awesome entrepreneur because you've never tried it before. Maybe you're an awesome accountant, but you've never tried it before. Maybe you're an awesome artist, but you've never tried it before. Or a welder, or a realtor, or whatever. Insert topic here. But unless you open yourself up to new experiences, how are you going to know what really lights your fire? How are you going to know what really gets you going? And it helps you discover yourself if you're willing to do those things. If you're in a relationship and you're unhappy, take a hard look at it. Maybe it's you. A lot of times when we're in relationships that don't work well for us, it's because of the way we're behaving or the signals that we're giving off, not so much the other person. And maybe you're just mismatched with the other person. There's lots of reasons why it can happen, but if you don't discover who you really are, what is it you really want? What's important to you? Is it all sorts of time together? Is it building a financial future together? Is it seeing eye to eye on political issues together? Whatever it is, doesn't matter to me. That's up to you. But if you don't open yourself up to new experiences and embrace change when it happens, then you're not going to know those things. And one way to work through that really well is to write it down. Keep a journal, keep a diary, just kind of free flow. Whatever pops in your head, write it down. Whatever you think, write it down. And as you do that for a while, you can go back and reread that stuff and notice trends, notice patterns. Notice things that keep recurring. Hey, I never really thought about it, but I've talked a lot about wanting to learn more about music. And so that's something that you can do, especially in today's society where there's so many resources available online to you. But unless you think about it and go after those things and embrace those things, it's really hard for them to just magically work their way into your life. So that's reason number 4. And then reason number 5 is you don't really have a choice. Things are going to change. The world changes constantly. So you've got to embrace change, and it's going to prepare you to navigate in the world that you live in. So think about people our age, right? We're 52. And some of the tips that we have on here are tips that we've talked about over and over and over again as it pertains to managing our mindset and changing the way we think about things and process information. And so we're going to sound like a broken record. And for those of you that are under 40 years old, let's call it, you might not even know what that means. So unless you've been to a vintage shop somewhere and seen an old record player or phonograph, you don't know that a record used to spin around and had a needle on it. And that needle picked up the grooves on the record and released the sound that was on the record. Well, if there was a scratch on the record, then it would skip and you would hear the same thing over and over and over and over again. And then hence the saying, I don't want to sound like a broken record. But those of us that lived in that world now listen to music on our phones, now stream music on Spotify, now listen to music on YouTube. Those are very different ways that music is delivered to us. And music is such a good thing to have in your life, regardless of what kind you like. Maybe you're a hip hop person, maybe you're a rap person, maybe you're a jazz person, maybe you're a classical person, maybe you're a rock and roll person. Doesn't matter. It's a great thing to have in your life. And the delivery method by which you consume that product now is very different than it used to be. And if you had not adapted to that, you would be missing out on those things in your life. And that's not a good place to be. Similarly, on a career path, what if you never learned to use Excel? Excel is like the language in which financial information is exchanged in business. What if you didn't learn that? And maybe you haven't learned it. Maybe you're missing the boat. But I'm telling you, you're behind the 8 ball if you don't adapt to change, because the world is going to change whether you want it to or not. And the sooner you get behind it, and the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you figure out ways in which you can adapt to and embrace that change, the better off you're going to be. Okay, great. That all sounds good. Appreciate you running your mouth for 10 minutes. How do I do it? How do I do it, Joe? So here's some tips. Here's some manageable, everyday actions that you can take that will help you overcome your fear of change, adapt to change, and embrace it. Number 1, begin with manageable changes to build confidence. Example, rearrange your furniture, try a new hobby. I can give you a sports example. So I was at best an average basketball player, probably below average. I was really good at baseball. I was really good at soccer. I was probably below average at basketball. With that said, when I played basketball, if I was in a game, I tried to take my first shot really close to the hoop. I wanted it to be a layup because I wanted to see the ball leave my hand, go into the basket, and build confidence in my mind. And then maybe you step back 3 feet and your next shot is a 6-footer. But if you start chucking up threes and missing, it can get in your head real quick and you're going to have a tough night shooting the basketball. Same thing on change. You don't have to wholesale change all at once in most instances. We used the COVID example earlier. That was one that was forced upon everybody. But if you want to start a new workout habit, just go to the gym. Say, I'm going to go to the gym every day for 5 minutes. And I'm not even going to work out. I'm just going to go to the gym and sit in the goddamn lobby. Building that habit of going to the gym can have a profound effect on what you're doing. And so just by starting small with manageable steps that they're so easy you can't help but do them, and then build slowly on that. You don't need to make quantum leaps in your change in behavior. You just need to make little changes consistently, and it'll take you really far. So that's tip 1, start small. Tip 2, visualize success. I cannot stress this one enough. I know it sounds kind of hokey and new age. If you've ever done yoga and they do the om at the end, I thought that stuff was all wacky too, but I'm telling you, there's something about that vibration in your vocal cords kind of running through your body that makes a big difference. Visualization works. We used to, before we pitched, I would visualize my catcher putting down a 1. And for those that are new to baseball, everything's called all the The pitches are called, now they're called on electronics. So the catcher has a pad, the pitcher has a pad, and he's got an earpiece and all this stuff. We just used to do hand signals. One meant fastball, one this way was an outside fastball to a left-handed batter. I would picture the catcher putting that one down, pointing outside, and then I would picture myself like I was outside of my body, going through my windup, delivering the pitch towards home plate, and painting the corner with a fastball as hard as I could throw it. And I would visualize that over and over and over again. Inside fastball, outside fastball, inside curveball, outside curveball, inside slider, outside slider, over and over and over again. So if you want a new job, picture yourself being successful in a new job, thriving, killing it, closing a bunch of sales if you're in sales, analyzing a bunch of data and getting it all right if you're a data analyst, selling a bunch of houses if you're a realtor, teaching a bunch of kids really, really well so that they leave your class with a ton of knowledge if you're a teacher. Whatever it is, visualize it over and over and over again. By doing that visualization, it's going to build confidence in your mind, and it's going to make you more willing to take on those changes as they come at you. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, seek support. There's other people that have done what you're trying to do. Talk to them. How did you do it? You're a bodybuilder and I want to become a bodybuilder. What are your tips for me to start? How did you get to where you're at? How many times a week do you lift weights? What is your diet like? Well, do you stay that way all year? Do you take time off? Ask for help. Seek support. There's people around you that have that. YouTube has tons of stuff on it where you're probably watching, some of you are watching this podcast right now. Google. There's all sorts of resources available for support. You've got family out there. You've got friends out there. I would argue that you should talk to someone who has done what you're trying to do. So there's lots of people that will give you financial advice that are poor as fuck. I would not take financial advice from them. You know, if you want relationship advice, don't talk to the person that's been married 3 times. They're probably the wrong person to go to for relationship advice. Someone with no kids, probably not the best person to talk to about parenting advice. That's just our thoughts. You can do what you want. It's up to you. But there's a ton of support out there. Use it. You don't have to be alone. You have to do it alone. And you should use the support that's available to you. Number 4, and this one is so important in almost anything in life. This is the broken record part. We say it over and over and over again on this channel. But focus on what you can control. There are so many things outside of your control that you spend so much time and so much effort and so much energy thinking about and worrying about and playing out various scenarios in your head, and you have no fucking control over them whatsoever. It is such wasted time and energy. Stop doing it. If you cannot control it directly, you should not spend almost any time thinking about it or worrying about it. Now, you can take steps to prevent things that you can't control, like a heart attack, right? Eat right, exercise. I'm not saying ignore your health, because you do control your health. But don't focus on the shit. What if I have a heart attack? What if you do? There's nothing you can do about it when it happens, but you can sure take steps to prevent or decrease the likelihood of that happening to you. If you want to be in a good, solid relationship, be a good partner. Don't be a dickhead to your spouse. Don't be a jerk to your spouse. Like, you have control over how you interact with that person. You have control over how they feel about you by the way you treat them. That's where you should focus your time and effort. Don't spend your time whining, oh, she doesn't make food for me when I come home. Oh, he doesn't do X, Y, or Z. Focus on what you can control. And you can control communicating that. Whatever you're missing, you can control communicating that in a productive way. So denigrating or insulting your partner, not a good approach. Not a good approach. You know, my wife and I have been married for 30 plus years. We have our disagreements, but I can count on one hand, because I can make a 0, the number of times we've insulted each other or called each other names. We just don't do it. Never have done it. No one has ever said to the other one, well, you're just fucking stupid. It's never happened, and it never will, because I have too much respect for her. She has too much respect for me. Now, we will say, I don't think you're thinking about this in the right way. I don't think you're taking a very intelligent approach here. That's a very different thing than calling someone a name. So you have control over those things. And that's the whole point of this tip. Focus on what you can control. Like, if you're trying to lose a bunch of weight, you didn't gain 50 pounds overnight. You're not going to lose 50 pounds overnight. But you can control what you have for dinner today. You have control over that. You can control going to the gym today. You have control over that. What you don't have control over is what you ate yesterday or going to the gym yesterday. And even right now, you don't have control over eating tomorrow or going to the gym tomorrow. You have control over today, right now. That's what you focus on. Good way to manage that is to create a plan, stick to the plan. That's a good way to do it because you control those actions. And tip number 5, celebrate progress. So we talked about this on a couple of episodes, but when good things happen, acknowledge them. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds and I lost a pound this week. Sweet. What is that? 2% of the way there. That's progress. Might not seem like much, but if you do 2% 10 days in a row, guess what? You're 20% of the way there. That's real deal. That's real stuff. So celebrate the small wins. Reward yourself for completing milestones. Sticking with the weight loss analogy, let's say that every 5 pounds you lose, you reward yourself with a movie or a book or a walk in the park or something that has value to you that's not food related that says, hey, I'm going to celebrate my win here by giving myself something I really like. Maybe take your dog to the dog park. Maybe go fishing. Maybe go golfing. Maybe go shopping. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a reward to you. But celebrate the progress, and it'll take you a long way to where you want to be. So that's the episode for today, guys. Things are going to change. Doesn't matter whether you want them to or not. They're going to change. Our argument is you got to learn to embrace it. You got to learn to reframe it in your mind and show it as an opportunity to learn new things and experience new things instead of lamenting things that might go away because of the change. And that is by far the best way to approach it. It is the way successful people approach it. It is the way logical people approach it. It's the way that you want to approach it too. So thanks so much, guys, for checking out the channel. Don't forget, head over to our website. James puts it up over here every day, saltygingertalk.com. You've got all of our episodes available there. You've got all of our social media links available there. And we publish a newsletter every weekday that we think is pretty funny. So current events, news stories, and we give our own take with a little bit of sarcasm and a little bit of snarkiness in the newsletter. We think it's fun. We think you'd enjoy reading it. It's not a long read, but we think it'd be a good way for you to start off your day because we send it out every morning. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you're consuming the podcast on. It's sure helpful to us. We appreciate it when you're able to do that. Everybody have a great week. We will see you next time.